Karmelo Anthony is accused of murder in the stabbing of star athlete Austin Metcalf. As you know, Karmelo is black and Austin is white. Karmelo will be tried in an affluent, overwhelmingly white community. And before anyone says that Karmelo has no chance, I will remind you that the McMichaels were convicted by a white jury in Georgia, of all places, for the shooting of Ahmed Arbery. Now, if I'm Karmelo, I tell my parents,
I need someone well-spoken of impeccable character to break the unfair black youth stereotype. Someone with style and grace. If the spokesperson is white, all the better. That will show the world that I didn't stab Austin because of race. It was about self-protection. We got to keep my self-defense at the forefront of my case so that whites on the jury will see me as a high school scholar athlete, not a thug.
And it wouldn't have been a hard sell for the spokesperson. The Anthonys were a nuclear family, upper middle class, living in a nice, quiet suburban community. Nice house, nice cars. He was captain of the football team. And while we have no way of knowing Karmelo's true academics, we were more than willing to accept his parents' claim that he had solid grades. An honor student. It was all there. You couldn't possibly this up. So all they needed was to hire a family spokesperson that could entrench the Anthonys as a 2025 version of the Huxtables. But that's not exactly what happened. And the Anthony's PR strategy has since devolved to the point where one wonders whether their son is now rocketing on a bobsled to prison. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
So Karmelo sends his parents out to get a bottle of Dom Perignon, and they come back with a six-pack of Keystone. They didn't hire this.
We had a wonderful time. I must say, I always feel sorry for people who didn't have a happy childhood.
Very disciplined?
Yes, very disciplined, very
Private
disciplined.
schools?
Private schools, yes, good education. And I believe in that.
Right.
I really do, oh boy.
They hired this.
Bishop, you still a nigga. You still a nigga.
Pastor Eli, still a nigga.
You still a nigga.
And it's only a slight exaggeration to say that choosing Al Sharpton as your spokesperson would have been only marginally worse. Because if there is one thing that Dominic Baby Shaker Alexander can do, it's reinforce every black stereotype not having to do with food and music. And he can probably nail those down as well, given the chance. He even had a violent felony record, hence the nickname Baby Shaker. Are you kidding me? One of Dominic's first actions was to throw the father of the victim out of his client's press conference, and then pin the blame on the victim's father. Many pointed their barbs at Karmelo's parents, as they should have. They were the ones that hired Dominique and signed off on his bizarre PR strategy. That is, set North Texas ablaze in BLM glory and watch Karmelo strut out of the burning structure, charred but alive. It didn't take long for the world to see that Dominic had the vocabulary, criminal record, and decision-making strategies of a Key and Peele gangster. His plan to turn the tables on Kyle Rittenhouse supporters became obvious to anyone willing to listen. And this really was about Kyle Rittenhouse. You see, Dominic has long been tormented by the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. Dominic saw Karmelo as a way to twist the knife in all those who worship at the altar of the Kenosha Kid. This would be payback. Did it matter whether Karmelo was innocent? Well, did it matter whether Kyle was innocent? Within race-baiting circles, does it ever matter? It was too juicy to resist. Both kids were 17, both kids were accused of murder, both kids claimed self-defense. Sure, Kyle shot a bunch of white dudes, but within the context of BLM protests and riots. Besides, many among Dominic's circle believe that Kyle deleted Joanne Rosenbaum and DeAnthony Huber. The problem for Dominic was that there didn't seem to be any racial element involved with the stabbing. Yes, Karmelo was black and Austin was white, But as far as the public was concerned, that was more of a coincidence. Austin didn't confront Karmelo because he was black, but rather because he was sitting in his team's tent. Karmelo didn't stab Austin because he was white, but rather because he faced a deadly threat, at least as far as Karmelo supporters see it. So job one of Dominique was to transform the stabbing into a racial conflict, and it didn't take long.
Because these racist bigots tried to prevent us from standing up for our baby, our boy.
It also didn't take long for the public to learn of Dominique's violent criminal past. A reporter by the name of Sarah Fields began poking around and publicizing his true character. Sarah is a true investigator who dug deep into the issue. And while perhaps she got some things wrong, hey, it happens, few could deny that she was a credible source of information. Dominique retaliated in the only way he knew how, character assassination of the most sophomoric kind. And as Sarah and Dominique warred on social media, more and more people began to wonder if Karmelo wasn't just another street hoodlum like his spokesperson. Now, Dominique was somewhat effective at fundraising, at least for a while, but as time passed, donations dwindled from Dominique's base, namely Section 8 knuckle-draggers driven by the same racial animosity as their shepherd. But a person working the graveyard shift as security because he has prior felonies and no frontal teeth only has so much money. To keep money pouring in, Dominique would have needed to reach a wider audience possessing an intellect above that of the average homeless crack addict. But to do that, Dominique would have to slip away from his online battles with Sarah Fields, and he just couldn't do it. And so every passing day, more and more of those that were willing to give Karmelo a fair shake began to see him as just another ordinary thug. And yes, these are the same people that will ultimately serve on Karmelo's jury. One of the amazing aspects of this saga is how long the Anthonys kept Dominique around, even after it became clear that the money train had long left the station. Finally, the Anthonys had had enough and decided to cut ties with Dominique and forge ties with this dude.
One of the white boys was on that side, one of the white boys on that side. So either way go, they had him blocked in. And these some big white boys. These are some big, violent, aggressive white boys who got guns. And not only that, the one he killed whooped their daddy.
As a result, Karmelo's reputation has jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. I said earlier that the Anthonys hired Charleston White, but the contractual relationship between Charleston White and the Anthonys is hard to discern. Initially, Charleston White was a supporter of Austin Metcalf, but switched allegiances overnight. Now, no one does that without strong motivation. Once you entrench your emotions, reputation, and personal worldview around a hot topic, switching sides is painful. So, was it money? Well, I doubt the Anthonys are providing chicks, so I suspect, without proof, that much of Karmelo's Give Sin Go fundraising hasn't exactly made it to the doorsteps of his legal defense team. Many are now accusing Karmelo's father with using Charleston as a personal pravda, feeding him with wild conspiracy theories, knowing that he will sow the seeds of racial discontent across the social media ionosphere. And one of those conspiracy theories has to do with Karmelo's motive for stabbing Austin, which I will cover in my next video. It may be the wildest, most juvenile defense strategy I've ever heard. And yes, I watched the Darrell Brooks trial. Like my video and subscribe to my channel. And stay tuned for part 2. It's going to get really, really weird and stupid.